Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arrive and Drive. I am Jordan Missig,
I'm Zach Buchanan.
And I'm natemargenthaler.
and on this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the clash that happened this past weekend. We also got a special guest on our show, and Super Bowl is coming up this week. That's going to be our prediction, so you're going to want to stay tuned and listen to that. So let's get the show started off with wings and things, as we're going to kick it off with Spike Colbecker made the headlines today as announcing that he is going to be joining Turn 3 Racing, Turn 3 Motorsport, and bringing Ignite Autosport back into the road to Indy.
Yeah, pretty cool. Ignite Autosport was with Cape Motorsports last year. They had Spike and Evan both. Spike moving to Turn 3 this year with Peter Dempsey's team to be teammates with our guest Christian Weir, which is pretty cool. Two graduates of the Ignite program, by the way, which is pretty awesome to see two kids come out straight from Ignite karting and go car racing.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be really cool to see how these two kids are going to be out react as a teammate. And Christian, speaking of which, going to be teammates with Spike Colbecker. Let's welcome him in. Christian, how are we doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
We're doing fantastic here on the Arrive and Drive. Christian, obviously, as we mentioned, you coming out of karting with the Margay Ignite program, and Spike as well. First things first, how is it now that we know Spike's going to be your teammate? Are you feeling knowing that you're going to have a guy with you as throughout the whole season?
Oh, it's great. I mean, at first we were having some teammate issues, but I know Spike. He's a great guy. I'm looking forward to having a teammate. And we already had some testing together, and we've worked together before, and I think it's going to go great.
Yeah, you guys were out at Sebring testing the past weekend. The past couple weekends, I would say, planning to go do some more testing as well before the season kicks off at St. Petersburg, as well as some testing going to be happening in the next couple weeks out at Homestead for preseason. But I want to talk a little bit about you and where you're at right now. So, let's get to the starting of Christian Weir and how we started racing. Where did you first get your interest in the racing?
So it was really my dad. It was Audubon Country Club. He was racing Radicals, Porsches, GT4 General, and just kind of a fun thing. I won in a go-kart, did some laps, had a blast, and then I joined the Audubon karting league, did a few years in that, and then from there interest spiked up and got competitive.
Yeah, you got your start in the racing go-karts, as we know, in the Margay Ignite series. How do you think the series of the Margay Ignite, just competitively, and how the series develops itself has transitioned you into the driver you are today?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, big competition in that junior series is my first real competitive year of karting with Reed Sweeney, Isaac Wells, a couple other names in there. And yeah, that's really where I first got my real hard racing, and that really taught me a lot through there.
No doubt, I think the Ignite series has been a really competitive series throughout the course of the year. Obviously, they just kind of recently came out with their new schedule of tracks that they're going to be going to for the 2022 season, including Cincinnati, Gateway, Audubon Country Club, as you mentioned. Going to be going to some interesting tracks as well as Mid-State. What has been your favorite track in a go-kart leading throughout your karting career?
So right now it's Mid-State. I've driven it in the 2019 season, I believe, and that track really suited my driving style and had a blast there. That's where I really first came into my own in karts.
And then now that you transitioned from, let's say, the karting side of things into the racing now cars in the USF 2000 series, you did some Radical Cup races beforehand before you jumped into the USF 2000. How did the transition from going from karts to cars help you out as you developed as a racer?
Oh, it's astronomical how crazy it is. I mean, especially driving those Radicals, crazy downforce, lots of cars in a field, battling through fields, and just overall competition, and just such a different experience of competition than normal kart.
Now, obviously, in Radical Cup, their fields are somewhat big, but it's multi-class racing you're dealing with. You're dealing with a bunch of different cars, different types of drivers, and everything like that. Going back to the karting side of it, you race some big races. I want to say out at, I think, Rock Island a couple of times, as well as out at the Battle of the Brickyard race out in Indianapolis. Some of those big races, do you think that kind of benefited you more than some of the regional races? And if so, how has it helped you get into the road to Indy?
I think it was more of an eye opener. I really saw just how many different people and how competitive it can be. It's how many different drivers and how many people I met, and just seeing where everyone else is really helpful.
Speaking of Indy, the last Indy that we got to run with karts, I remember you and Reed and Isaac Wells, all three guys. It seemed like a shootout all weekend. You guys were kind of going back and forth. I mean, what do you remember about that weekend? Because obviously, Indy being a special place to race, it's a special race to win. What do you remember about that weekend?
So I'd say it was a successful weekend. I started out the weekend on pole. First heat race didn't go, and we got taken out, finishing like second to last. Slowly through the heat races, built my way through, kind of figured out my footing, and then that last race got pretty lucky with traffic and managed to get third.
That seemed like a difficult race to be in, especially in junior, because they had you guys joined in with the 206 junior, which it was kind of funny because you guys were on a harder tire, so realistically shouldn't have been on pace with the Briggs kids, but I mean you guys were catching Briggs back markers, and I just remember Isaac and Reed going back and forth the final few laps, and really what it came down to was traffic, like you said. It was just you had to be very smart, and draft was huge.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because when they were all battling and stuff, I was just kind of sitting in third, just a couple seconds back, just watching them go at it. They're really, really close racing.
Playing the patient game, I see, huh? Just watching them all battle out and everything.
Yeah, or take each other out.
Yeah, that too. That's always beneficial.
I will say, watch it from the front stretch. I thought they were going to get taken out by some lappers. Not taking each other out, but the lappers kind of made it a little interesting.
I mean, yeah, they're both great drivers, and luck.
So we'll go back into, I believe it was 2019. You were also not only racing in the Battle of the Brickyard, but you started racing also with the Ignite Challenge a little bit too, doing the junior series. Started doing some of the travel races. You were going up against the guys like Isaac Wells and Reed Sweeney throughout the course of the year. Let's talk about that season a little bit. How do you think that season-long battle between them two other racers has kind of developed you and built a relationship against racing those two guys?
So great friends with both of them, both great guys, and just kind of jumping in because I wasn't really competitive till mid-season there. It was kind of weird because they already set foot, kind of know what they're doing. I came in there the rookie, just throwing the cart around, seeing what's what, and it was really interesting just seeing how they raced and seeing how a championship can actually play out. Because until then, championship was kind of just a thing that happened, but there I really got to see how you actually have to play a championship and be patient and figure out, what to do and how to play it.
So we'll go and transition a little bit into a segment that we like to do before we move on with our interview with Christian into the later part of his USF 2000 career, and that is dumb things to do on the racetrack. So this is a segment on the show that obviously we like to talk about dumb things that we witnessed on the racetrack. So Christian, we like to ask you, what is something that you have witnessed or personally have done yourself that was really, that you thought, and you look back on that was really dumb or stupid that you did on the racetrack?
So this was something I seen. I would never do this myself. I think it was during a race. Someone's car died. They got on the side of the road. Mid-race, they decided to get out of their car and try to run to the side as cars were flying by them.
Like running across the racetrack?
Not across the racetrack, but just right on the edge of the track, get out of their car and try walking away.
Was this in Radicals?
F4.
F4. Wow.
Oh, I remember this. So okay? I have more context to this because I remember this.
It sounds like me and iRacing, man.
All right, so I will add more context to this because I was there that week. I was there that race weekend. So this was in Canada Corner, out of all places, down the straightaway, going down to right into Canada Corner out of the King. And yes, his one driver's car died. He pulled off to the side, and instead of running behind a safe, first off, I don't care who you are. If your car is stuck on the side of the road, you never get out of your car when the track is hot. Never. Same for karting too. I mean, yeah, karting, you get out of your car, you can able to drag your car to the side of the road to get it to a safe place or to a nearest corner worker, and the corner worker's there to help you. But in car racing, there's no one there because everyone's being behind the wall. So if you're going to park your car on the side of the road, you just stay in your car until medical personnel or track workers come to you when the track goes cold under yellow. So this one kid, I want to say, pulls off to the side of the road, gets out of his car, and instead of running to safety like he should have done, and get behind the wall, he simply sat next to his car on the track and basically pulled like a George Russell at Imola from 2 years ago when he hit the wall. So, the track is still hot at this time. And I don't know if it was just local yellow or if they did go full course yellow. I believe they went full course yellow once they realized he sat next to the wall. But just regardless, and the fact that he still sat on the racetrack while the track was still hot is pretty dumb, as Christian would also say.
Could you imagine being in race control? You hear a corner worker come over the radio. Yeah, this idiot got out of his car while the track is still hot. Like I couldn't imagine.
Have you seen the times like a fan on an F1 track just walking down the middle of the track?
Yeah, dude. Was that the guy in a costume? He had like a flag or something, and he was running at cars.
Yeah, that also happened in Singapore 2018 too.
I know this is during a red flag, so it's kind of different. Remember that one NASCAR fan asked Matt Kenseth for an autograph?
When he jumped the guardrail?
It was 2009.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was pre-2010. He jumped the guardrail during a red flag and asked Matt Kenseth for an autograph his hat. Matt Kenseth goes, "I'm a little busy right now, but maybe later."
Yeah. So, okay, I got to ask. Who does anybody know who this guy was that jumped out of his car? Christian, do you know who it was? Or Jordan?
That was Reed Sweeney, actually. Surprise.
I probably wouldn't want to say.
I got you. No, that's fair.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking. Okay, we got to interview this guy.
Jesus.
And get the idea of what was going through his head, because you can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't honestly know what was going on in his head, obviously, but yeah, just to understand what was going on would be honestly gold for us. But
another time this happened, I was testing at Barber. Almost the same exact thing happened. He just got stuck on the curb instead of the car dying.
So his car was stuck on the curb and he got out.
Yeah, on the grass, kind of beach jump. On the.
Yeah, when you're basically beached on the curb, yeah.
He spun out and kind of got stuck out there. I know the driver's name.
Yeah, that's another one, especially Barber, because there's not really. I mean, yeah, there is some grass runoff, but there's not really a good place to have an incident like that and get out of the car. Road America's fast, but there's so much runoff at Road America. I feel like something at Barber, much tighter track. Especially if you're stuck on the curb, that's just bad news.
Do you by chance know what corner this was in, Christian?
Turn 8.
So that's right at the museum corner. When you're going down the hill at Barber, it's that quick right, left, right
chicane?
into the museum bend. Yeah, that little chicane. Was he on the outside exit curb?
Yeah, outside.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that's very dangerous then.
Yeah, because that's right out of the corner. That's right when everyone's tracking out on it.
I went around 2 laps before anything even happened, too. He was just kind of standing next to his car.
I just wanted...
Some kids get those... How does some kids get an SCCA license?
I know it's super off topic, but I just got a text from Reed Sweeney telling me to get on iRacing. I texted him back saying, currently making fun of you with Christian Weir. And just to make him nice, he said, "Okay, nice." that was his response. I just wanted to make sure we all knew this. Thank you. Anyways, continue.
But I don't get how some of these kids even have the balls to even stand next to not only their car but just the racetrack with cars going around on a hot racetrack when they're going at speed.
A lot of it is just they're used to karts. I think
probably
just straight from karts. And
But even then, you have a little bit of a protective barrier that you have to hop over, and is it between you and the car?
But even when I think of safety now, and I think of safety 20, 30 years ago, I feel like it's kind of taken for granted now because safety's come such a long way, whether it be the car, safety gear for the driver, barriers, in general, like a normal race, a car race of any sort is a lot safer now than what it was, in the 1900s at any point in time. So, when I think of that and I hear of instances like that, to me, it just says these guys don't really understand how dangerous it is what they're actually doing, because obviously it's pretty dangerous, pretty stupid. But I think, if there is a similar incident 20 years ago, you wouldn't see somebody get out of their car while the track was hot. I feel like people would have a lot more common sense.
No, unless like nowadays you only see people get out of the car if they know their car is wrecked and the whole field has gone by them, and safety is and they're able to get out of their car, safety is close by, or they know the track's gone to a full course yellow situation. You don't see them getting out of their car when it's under a green flag scenario. So I think not only the safety has improved, but I think protocol as well, from driver protocol and what you're supposed to do when you're in an incident or when your car becomes disabled on a racetrack. It's now become secondhand that a driver knows what they're supposed to do, the procedure, I should say, of what happens when your car becomes disabled on the racetrack.
Well, I would say it's a lot more acceptable, even though it's not acceptable by any means. But I would say it's a little bit more acceptable at a level like that than if it was somebody in like IndyCar, NASCAR, IMSA, something where like you've been doing this for a little bit. You should probably know by now. It's still pretty unfortunate that people think that that's okay, but also learning at the same time. So that's also something. And I also want to point out, Jordan, like you said, protocols, between drivers. You also got to give credit to a lot of organizations too, their protocol, race control, turn marshals, corner workers, all that. Because you think back to incidents like, I remember seeing a YouTube video of kart at Vancouver. It was like 1990, where a corner worker got ran over because at this point it was just normal for a local yellow. You'd have corner workers running around trying to get a car unstuck from a barrier while the race is still going on. And obviously times have changed a lot because there have been instances where corner workers have been hit and even killed. So it just kind of makes you a little more grateful that that's how it is now.
Not only that, but I think you start to see too a lot more respect from the drivers in terms of the corner marshals. Like, we know if there's a yellow flag, reduce your speed because there could be medical personnel, safety vehicles, or even people on foot on the racetrack. In karting, obviously, that's the main thing. I want to pull up the Rock Island race from I want to say a year or two ago, when there was that yellow flag in turn one, and everyone just kept on racing, and basically there was a huge pileup in turn one because no one respected the yellow.
What class was this in?
I don't remember exactly what class. I know it was a 206 class. I don't know. I think might have been 206 medium open, I feel like.
Okay.
Only because it was such a big field.
Oh, okay. I for some reason I was thinking that was the incident where Kayla had her back injury.
No, I think that was a different one. There's been a lot of bad incidents in Rock Island.
That was a few years ago now, I think.
Yeah. This was like a year or two ago when the red flag. I know one of the guys, I think Veneer, posted it on his Facebook or something like that, to where the yellow flag was just being totally disobeyed, and just people were still racing even though the yellow flag was completely waving and there was a driver off in the barriers on the right hand side.
So there was I believe it was either the first or second year at Indy. It was either 2017, 2018. It was one of the, because I know it was early on in the 4-year stint that we went to Indy. And I want to say it was the first one. It was like the second practice session on Friday. So, you get your 3 rounds of practice, then you do Q, then the first year we didn't do it, but the second year you did the parade lap around the oval. I'm pretty sure this happened the first year. It was literally the second practice session of the entire weekend, where an old dude in a shifter, I think he had some sort of medical condition, because he completely just wiped out and went straight into the inside barrier of turn 2, which turn 2 at that point was so if you're looking in respect to the IndyCar layout of the road course, it would be right before the chicane on the backstretch. So instead of us taking the chicane where you would turn into the F1 carousel, somebody, it was an older dude, and I think he had a medical condition, just completely went straight into the inside barrier, wiped out the corner worker station, like barrier completely taken out, corner worker knocked down. It was crazy. Like, just like, that was kind of an eye opener. Like, oh, like that can happen, even at a go-kart race.
You're telling me, dude. Jesus, I got to be a corner worker all season, dude. And I mean, 2 guys get hit technically. One was
Grant.
Grant's was an actual hit. Was like could have been avoided. Drew's though wasn't. Drew
got hit in the chest with a barrier.
Yeah, Drew's was going to the 180 at Gateway full speed with no brakes at all and just getting rocked.
Yeah,
that video is pretty funny though. Because he's dressed as Batman that day. So
that okay. So
Batman fly.
We gotta tell this story. So Drew,
I can tell great. Oh my god,
Drew Burrow. Nate and I worked with him. Bobby worked with him. Hilarious kid. So it was Halloween, Super Comp, final Super Comp race. I was wrenching and filming because Bobby was running my kart that day. And I'm going out to the infield to record film, first practice. And Bobby's kind of in a swarm of karts. I'm like, dude, get out of there. Like, these guys, because the guys he's around, I was like, this isn't going to work out. Especially first practice, no grip. It's in the morning, it's cold. I'm like, this isn't going to end well. I'm like, just get out of there, dude. Well, literally, next lap, Mikey Wagner lost his brakes, and it wasn't his fault. Like,
Foley lost them. Yeah,
it was a parts failure. Completely lost brakes.
Shocker.
Going into the hairpin. So you're going from the fastest part of the racetrack, basically, into a tight little hairpin. Loses brakes straight through the barrier. And actually, he did everybody a solid. He passed like 3 karts to the inside because he knew he was going to hit them if he didn't. So he just gassed up and went to the right.
Yeah, one of the karts he
missed
passed
everybody.
One of the karts he passed too is Bobby in like the third in line too. So Bobby's GoPro footage. Bobby saw the GoPro. Well, he saw it happen. Obviously, it's like right as he passed 180, he literally turned his kart around and got up and got. It was like what? It was like practice, wasn't it? It wasn't even like the race.
It was the first practice.
Yeah.
And like I remember
first lap out.
I remember seeing Bobby stop, and like I couldn't see much because I was on the other end of the track. I'm like,
I think
just got wrecked.
Yeah, I think I was announcing this because I remember Jake was inside. And because Jake was inside, I think I must have been announcing this because I remember I was inside with Jake at the time. So I had to be announcing then. And then because I remember I was in the back room and I was sitting there and remember the radio, Keith going like, Drew, are you okay? And then no response. And then Jake, Jake's obviously like best friends with them. Like he's been friends with them for like, since childhood. So he gets in the golf cart and he runs down there to see Drew, and I'm like inside. He's like, Nate, hold down inside, and I have no idea how to work inside. So I just stand there. I'm just, hi. I don't know how to do anything. So
he's like the Walmart greeter at the speed center.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's like that picture. Like, thank you for a great season. That picture.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's from 2020.
Like, yeah, I'd hold that sign if it walked up. Just that was great. That's a good picture too.
So okay, to kind of finish up the story quick. So Mikey loses brakes, full on head on into the barrier at the end of the extension, and actually he yanked the wheel last second, and so it wasn't a full frontal impact. Otherwise, he probably would have got clotheslined by the barrier because he still got hit by the barrier in the head, but he probably would have full on been clotheslined by the barrier if he would have hit it straight. But basically, he kind of hit it at an angle with the left front and just drop kicks the barrier. And the barrier hits Drew in the chest. And you just see Drew go flying back. And he's wearing his Batman costume. And I'm like, dude, you should have dressed up as Superman because you flew. And he's like, oh, you're so funny. But, dude got zonked from that. And then Mikey was okay. Drew was okay.
He took it, bro.
Thankfully.
He took it and worked the rest of the day, too.
Yeah, he worked the rest of the day. Shout out to Drew.
Grant last time. This one could have been kind of avoidable. It's not a huge issue, though. Grant was okay, and it's just Grant. So
I don't know. Grant looked like he wasn't with it. Like Grant
was not with it because it was more like an adrenaline rush, too. Like after.
I don't know.
He was all good. I went to the hospital. Like, I was all good. He did these. Okay, so what's funny was about Grant. He's okay now, so I'm gonna say it's funny. He was standing kind of by the 180 there, but it was an open spot. And the reason why he was standing next to Gabe, and Gabe was wearing steel toe boots at the time, so when he got hit in the feet, he was okay. And Grant, though, he was eating a Subway sandwich, and when he was eating his sandwich, all of a sudden, a kid who spun out on the opening lap. And now this kid, I know this kid. This kid is.
This is on the out lap.
He just came out of kid kart, and he's in rookie class. This isn't. I don't know if it's his first race, whatever. But this is like he's fresh in rookie, right? Yeah, very very early on in rookie class. So he comes around the 180. He comes around the 90, and all of a sudden these karts are going really really slow on the 180. He doesn't expect it. Slams on his brakes, and he does like 3 different spins, and then just right into Grant's ankles, and Grant just folds backwards. It was a hard fall. He ended up getting on the golf cart, really out of it, and then looking at me and saying, "Where's my Subway sandwich?" I then give him his sandwich, and then as he's leaving, now mind you, I took the spot of this guy. He's leaving. I'm sitting in the same spot he got hit during a live race, the same spot he got hit under caution. He goes, "Do you want the rest of my sandwich?" I said, "No, Grant. I don't want them. I'm staying in the same spot you were standing in while I got hit under caution, and it's a live racetrack right now. I don't want your Subway sandwich." And this dude goes, "Okay, bye, Nate," and then leaves. I'm like, "All right, Grant, get better, buddy, please." I don't know if he was in it or what was wrong with him at that time, but yeah.
Where's my Subway sandwich?
You have my Subway?
I think about the SpongeBob scene, like,
he
grabs the shirt. "Where's my Subway sandwich?"
I love that.
Yeah, that was.
Wow, that's
going back to the video that Zach was talking about, or the incident with the barrier. I saw that for the first time, and I just could not believe that actually happened. Like, I just see a car just full throttle into a barrier and just take the barrier completely out, and I was like, "What the hell just happened there?"
With our Ignite series, only 2 people got hit this year. That's a new record. With normal rental races, we're at 6. So you know what? We're it's getting down. You know, I can talk crap in the Carbucks now. I don't work there. I'm just kidding.
So I almost walked out.
I'm just kidding.
In front of a cart one time in a rental race, but got lucky.
Oh yeah, wasn't that?
That was during iDrive, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't you. Can I tell the story, please, Zach?
What?
With the story of you waving the green flag. Can I tell the story?
Are you talking?
You waving the green flag before Keith wanted you to?
When was this?
Well, was it you? I don't know who it was. Okay, I might not have been you. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me finish though. I don't know who it was, but this story is great though, real fast. So it's iDrive. Yeah, it's iDrive, right?
Yeah, I never waved the green in iDrive.
Okay, so it might have been Drew, probably, knowing Drew. We're standing there, and whoever's waving the green flag, right, for the iDrive is standing for a little bit and to do it. Well, whoever was doing it, Keith was like, "Are you almost ready?" So Keith walks out on the track, and as he steps down, whoever's doing it, I think it was Drew. I thought it was you for some reason. I guess I'm wrong, though. But waving the green flag. Keith is standing in front of these guys. He just scurries himself along and hops over the barrier. I've never seen him run that fast in my life. And I'm announcing this race, and I said, "The race is off now with a bit of an obstacle in the way, but Keith gets out of the way nicely, and now we're green." Oh, I was having so much fun with that, dude. Oh man, it was great. It had to have been Drew. It was somebody the first time waving the flag, and they misheard Keith or something. I don't know. It was funny though.
Oh,
iDrive is a good time. So during Q, there was a qualifying session one time, and somebody had got stuck on the barrier. All right, so my post that night was turn 2, outside of turn 2. So I'm between turn 2 and the backstretch. So somebody gets hung up on the curb. It's qualifying. I run out, help them, push them back, and I'm standing on the inside of the curb, and I go to step onto the racetrack, and I turn just as I do that. Never turn your back on the racetrack, but I turn to look just as I'm stepping onto the track, which I should have done like a half second earlier. The leaders of that group are coming around, and they see me. And, like, I basically, like, if this is the track, I step my foot down, and then I bring it back quick. And if I didn't, I would have got ran over. Completely dumb on my part. But, like, and I said something.
I almost got ran over, too, by Tony Stewart.
Yeah, but it was Brendan.
It
was actually Brendan. We worked with Brendan. Brendan was the one that almost hit me. And so I said something to him afterwards. I was like, "Hey, sorry about that. Like, probably spooked you a little bit." He's like, "Nah, you're good. I didn't want to be the guy that run you over." And I was like, "Oh, well, that makes me feel a little better." I think that was actually my first night working iDrive too. Very interesting.
Trevor Trevor's first day working wasn't iDriving. That's the dude got knocked out by the curb. That was Trevor's first day. I was announcing that too. I had a bad history because I remember I was just kind of a backup this year for announcing stuff. And I had 3 races, and all 3 races there was a bad incident. Like either track got good damaged or someone got hurt. 3 races in a row. It was bad. The third one was like really bad track damage, and it was 2 races in a row. People got hurt, and I'm like, dude, I have a bad luck charm apparently. But
jeez,
thinking of that, yeah.
So
something, man.
So Christian, you've ran a variety of different cars so far. Radical, USF, F4. What's your favorite one that you've driven so far?
Rental karts.
At rental karts for fun, but so far I gotta say it's the 2022 version of the USF.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the car behaves much better with extra weight on it. I think it's just mainly the tires, just having something more bite.
That's interesting.
The car drives so much better. You don't ever notice the halo. It's just kind of there. So it's a lot more fun to drive, and it probably contributed that was my first time driving in like 3 months. So probably made me enjoy it a little bit.
So, how much weight does the halo on the USF add?
It's like 40, 50 pounds.
That's not too bad.
The halos are pretty heavy from what I've known.
Yeah, I mean, in relative, considering what it's meant to do, though, I mean, that's really not that bad. Considering it's supposed to be a protective safety structure for the driver, that's not horrible.
The whole car was basically like the cars are bigger now, it's a little bit wider, and I think they're a tad bit longer. So the tub, I think the tub weighs not that much more. It's just a little bit different build on the inside.
I see. So you had a little bit of a setback towards the end of last year. I guess tell us how you're doing. You had a little bit of an injury, a little bit of an accident. What happened exactly, and how you doing? How you feeling?
So it was the F4 event at COTA during the Formula 1 weekend. Got pushed off the track off of the exit of turn 1. Hit the curb, basically car went up, came down very hard. Broke my T4 and 5, I think, in my back. Fracture. And I was out for exactly 3 months to the day until, January 24th. That was Sebring testing. And then it happened in October. And it was definitely a long recovery, especially after coming, basically for me, just race, because I was doing the USF series and the F4 and doing some other sprinkle races. So it major setback for me, but I feel better than ever still.
So what does that do to a driver mentally? You spend a year, learning, but in general, seeing pretty incredible amount of success for somebody your age, jumping into cars for the first time, running a variety of things, and then not only are you not able to do it for 3 months, but you have this injury, that unknown of, am I going to be 100% when I come back? I mean, kind of take me through how you approach that mentally.
It kind of started phasing me the first time I hopped back on the car, but it's basically as soon as I got back in the car, it was just same thing as usual. During my injury, it was hard because I never thought am I going to be the same, had those thoughts, but it basically just felt like normal afterward. I don't really know how to put it.
It's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So walk me through the last couple closing laps. When the team called you in early, they threw you on slick tires in a wet track condition, and as it was drying up, the tires obviously are getting tire temp into them, so they're starting to heat up. Just walk me through your path, I want to say your journey of just coming from the back of the field towards the front.
So lap 1, I started P13, somewhere around there, P12. Came in lap 1 for tires, obviously. Came back about lap down, 5th position from the front, a lap down, obviously. After the first 2 laps, I made my way through leaders. After that, it was just I think 5 or 6 laps of just nothing, just driving. And then I eventually hit some cars. And then all of a sudden, there was a group of 5 or 6 cars. And I was just slowly gaining on them. And then it was just all of a sudden last lap. And then it was I didn't even think I was going to catch them. And it was just those last 4 or 5 corners were just cut through them. And then I came out of like the last sequence of corners. I was like, holy shoot! I didn't even realize until like I watched the video that I actually just did that. It was like crazy at the time. I mean, I ended up finishing P8 that race, which wasn't even my best finish of that race or that weekend. Sorry, and yeah, it was just kind of odd, but I take those.
Kind of like a moment to where like you don't even feel like you're in the moment. You're just naturally doing something until you realize you're like, what the heck did I just do? Like you're not really even thinking. You're just doing.
Yeah.
So you said you pitted lap 1 for tires. Was that your first live pit stop?
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess kind of let's add some context for the audience. When you think of an IndyCar pit stop, it's like 8 seconds. You think of a NASCAR pit stop, it's like 12 seconds. It's going to take a little bit longer because you don't have a full dedicated pit crew because you guys typically don't make pit stops. How much time would you lose just from the pit stop itself, changing tires?
So it's about 2 minutes, I believe. It kind of, because it's only 2 guys in a car with, like slow guns. You have to torque the wheels, put clips on, big old wheels, and then just all like the little things. 2 minutes, and then just the pit lane was still soaking wet that race. So we came in like basically just sliding out. Like I have video of it. I couldn't even get out of the pit box. I was spinning tires, and total with like pit lane, it's minute and a half, 2.5 minutes. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not only that, the experience. I feel like a little bit of karting also went into this as well for experience wise. But to go from wet tires to dry tires on a damn track in alone itself is tricky enough. And New Jersey doesn't really get driven on a lot by professional race cars. It's a lot of regional SCCA stuff mainly. So for a track that doesn't really take grip very well and to go on a dry track, like a drying track, I should say, had to be very difficult to at least get some tire temp and even grip in those Cooper tires.
Yeah, I mean, it took probably about 2 laps to get temperature because I believe it's corner 8 or 9. It's lower in the track, so it's just wet. Like that's a pure wet part of the track. So it just took so long, and it was just painful. At first, I thought it was the wrong choice, and I was like, "Oh, obviously the right choice." And then, yeah, it was just so long. It was kind of painful, just sliding around, trying not to crash.
So moving along now, we'll move into set our sights onto 2022. Obviously, you and Spike Tolbecker are going to be teaming up as Turn 3 Motorsports. He was with Ignite Autosport. What are your guys' expectations, obviously, going into the season now? 2 young drivers with Turn 3. St. Pete, obviously, within 2 weeks. You guys, obviously, you're kind of in like, he's in his second season. You're going to be kind of technically considered your rookie season, but I would say also part of a sophomore season since you had 3 weekends in the car. What are your expectations, obviously? What are your goals setting yourself for 2022?
Obviously, like, team and pretty much everyone around me has already kind of made that choice for me, but they're expecting a championship contending season, and I personally think I can do it. The team is definitely there to back me. I mean, the team's only second year in the USF Challenge or series now, and last year they showed good strength, winning both of the last races in Indy Pro, or technically the last 2 races in the season at Mid Ohio, and definitely coming off there, we have strong pace, and I believe we can do it.
So, and not only were they successful in Indy Pro, but also USF. You had was it Josh Green that won in USF?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dylan Christie seemed to have some pretty solid runs in there throughout the season as well. So, it seemed like they really laid a good foundation quickly. So I would imagine for a young driver like yourself, first full season with them, I feel like you probably have a lot to look forward to this year, being with them.
Yeah, they're all great guys there. We're all basically family. I mean, we know what we can do together, and it's just putting ourselves to.
Sweet. Well, Christian, we're going to tell you then we're looking forward to you in 2022 on what you are going to have in store for not only us, but for the rest of the USF 2000 program. And I think, this year you've shown maturity, obviously, throughout the course of the season last year. And obviously, it's built into this year throughout the testing program. You've been fast everywhere you've gone. I think, this year we're definitely looking forward to seeing you up towards the front, battling for even wins. And hopefully, you can see yourself in the championship contender spot when we get to the end of the season in October.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I really can't wait for it.
Well, guys, that's going to be Christian Weir. He's going to be joining us on the rest of the show as we prolong the rest of the show as we move on to our next topic, which is going to be talking about the Clash that we've all been wanting to talk about, the holy grail race that everyone's been expecting throughout the off-season of the NASCAR season. So, guys, first initial thoughts. What did you guys think of the Clash?
First thoughts. Well, I'd say realistically, I think it was a success. It was entertaining. That was, we wanted entertainment, right? The racing was good. The heats in the LCQ, it got a little silly. However, the main race itself, it was a pretty heads-up, straightforward race. It wasn't like bumper cars like we saw in the LCQ. You saw a little bit of contact, but in reality, you're throwing 23 cars in a quarter-mile track, temporary track. So considering the lack of track time that they had and just all the factors you had going into it, I was pretty entertained.
Yeah, I think piggybacking what was actually, I think it was an overall success for NASCAR in general. But I don't know. Like it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, sure, I think I did well, but I really miss Daytona, and I loved them doing the road course last year personally. I don't feel like we're upset about them doing the road course, not the oval. But I freaking loved that Clash where they did the road course, and I wish they would still be Daytona, honestly, even after watching it.
Yeah, I'm kind of borderline with this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think NASCAR themselves did a fantastic job putting on the event in general. To get the logistics, to get the time frame, to get everything set up, the promotion standpoint, I think was a fantastic, hands down job by NASCAR to get everything set up. The thing is, though, I really did not feel like this was a Clash. And the only reason why I say that is because in the Clash,
felt like an all-star race to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't know if I like that vibe. Personally.
Well,
it's like,
the thing is,
I race.
Maybe, but at the same time though, like watching that was like cool. But I'm not like after like watching the Clash. Like I'm usually hyped up for the 500. Like that's me personally. I mean, I'm not really the same way. But now this year, after watching that, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Like I'm not crazy. I think the biggest reason people watched it this year, honestly, obviously the LA Coliseum. But I think the new car has been a huge difference too in this.
Well, I think it was Kurt Busch or someone related to that they would not be able to run this race in the Gen 6 car. They just wouldn't. The cars would not be able to turn as well as they could. And with the gearing as well, the transmissions would just bog down. But with the next gen car, I think it definitely helped not only the turning radius, but it's set up more for like road courses, which helped the turning radius of the car as well as the gearing.
Another reason why I really wish they had the road course this year too. I knew these cars would be better set up for road courses in the first place. So I was like, okay, I hope we see road course. But I'm excited for them. They do have more road courses this year more than ever. So I feel like I'm excited for that.
A point I want to make about the road course, and I agree with Nate, the Daytona road course for NASCAR was great. Why that was even a second thought of, removing it, not going back. To me, it's just kind of a dumb move. Like it was a great, the racing was great last year.
Plus coming after like the Rolex hype too. Oh
yeah, I mean
literally, dude, I was like right back out of the action, the same track. Oh, it was awesome.
And regionally, it makes sense. You go from the 500 to race 2 being the road course, race 3 being Homestead. Like that made sense. Feasibly,
we talked about
it. Was we did talk about.
We talked about last episode. The cost of this race. Just to go over there. So the travel to get over there, everything about that race. Maybe if you break anything on the car, blah blah. How much does it cost to smaller teams?
Well, I think NASCAR put together it was $1 million just to put the track together in the Coliseum, and that's not what any of the teams alone. I think the teams actually demanded for higher purse money, and that's why I think the purse was bumped up to $2 million to the winner, because they needed some of that money to just pay for logistical stuff to come from their shops out in North Carolina to LA to do that race.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention, you got to consider there's a big shortage in parts. Next gen being very new. You also got to consider the supply chain issues that America as a whole is dealing with right now. So when you think of it like that, you got to imagine the cost of these parts is probably higher than what it should be. So that purse money is going to, I feel like every dollar is going to be well spent on that extra stuff, because there's really not much of it. I think was it Logano before the Clash said that car is their auto club car.
Yeah,
I think it was Joey that said, yeah. So they're repurposing a lot of their cars for, they've already got these planned out to run in other races down the road. So yeah, definitely can't. I mean, Daytona, gosh, I don't know. I've got a lot of concerns about Daytona, not just because of wrecked race cars. Like, for example, Justin Haley's hit to the inside wall. That car was junk, and he was going 40 miles an hour. When you see Almirola's crash, you see Kurt Busch's crash, I'm like, this is a quarter-mile track. They were going no more than 80 miles per hour on the straightaway.
When was that moment? I think we were all three texting the group chat right as it happened. Like, two of the leaders in a row just like DNF'd out of nowhere, pulled off.
So this was after the first yellow. This was after the first yellow, and I think it was because Blaney had something go wrong with his car, and he had to pull into the pit area. But because the pit area was so tight, you almost have to come to a dead stop on the racetrack. And to avoid a major incident, they threw a yellow so they could give way to Blaney turning in. Then Fox Sports went to a commercial break. They come back, and next thing you know, Briscoe's in the pits for a drive shaft because he was shifting gears. I forget. I think it was it Todd Gilliland? No, it was Reddick. Reddick pulled off the track.
Transaxle.
Tyler Reddick.
I think it was transaxle on both.
Yeah, it was literally three different cars at once. We were all texting back and forth. I think I said all caps, the cars are break and run or something like that. Just something stupid, but yeah.
So I guess
I think that's also...
Sorry, go Jordan.
But I was going to say, I think that's kind of expected a little bit, because this is also the first race of the next-gen car. Yep. And for a track like this, I think it was Dave Moody tweeted out that this race is going to put these next-gen cars to the ultimate test, only because this is probably the most physically demanding track, not just abrasive-wise, but just how hard the drivers are going to be on the equipment on these cars. I think that's really what it was.
This is a little different, but like, could you imagine if Formula One had like a clash? You know how stupid that'd be?
Oh God!
The drivers would want to kill each other. I feel like they would still be competitive as a crap. I think they would still not care and be competitive like crazy. That'd be horrific. Actually, I don't know if that'd go really well.
So we were kind of talking about, did this feel like the Clash or not? I've seen a mixed bag of responses on social media about it. My first thought was that was a great Clash. However, I feel like it would be an even better All-Star race. Not to mention, you have the West Coast swing. If you do the West Coast swing in like March-ish, like March, April maybe, then you could put the All-Star race on the tail end of that, make it at the Coliseum. It'd be a great venue for it. And then you could have the Clash at Daytona. Or even if that wouldn't work, even if you couldn't do the LA Coliseum as the All-Star race or the Clash. Like, remember, I think it was late 90s, they went to Suzuka for an exhibition race. They also went to Motegi. It was just an exhibition race. It wasn't even like a points-paying race. It wasn't the All-Star race. It was not the Clash. It was just a random exhibition race. So that would be another option. But if I had to vote on what we did with our non-points events, it would be Coliseum, All-Star race, Clash on the Oval, and they do that. See, I think they do pole qualifying Wednesday night. So my vote would be to do the Clash Wednesday night as well. Pole sitters only, 20 laps, just like Dale Jr. said. 20 laps. Obviously, you got overtime if you need it. But, the big knock on the Clash for all those years being on the Oval was that they ride around for 50 laps or 70 laps, and then they all just crash. Well, if they're going to just crash, you might as well get to the good stuff. 20 laps, it's just a sprint race.
That's why I love the road course. It was just I don't know why. It was just good racing. No matter what lap it was at, I felt like there was always some sort of battle on track, and it was always good racing.
Here's what I think they should do. Picking back off of Zach's point, I think they flip it to where the clash is go back to Daytona, like you said. The All-Star race is at the Coliseum because, quite frankly, I want to make a quick point here. The reason why I think it felt like an All-Star race event more than the Clash is because we had heat races and every single team was able to earn its way into the Clash.
Yes.
Whereas recent years, the Clash has been just the pole sitters or past winners.
Which what makes me mad about the Clash too is like if it felt like All-Stars too, because you had like 11, quote unquote celebrity, people to be Grand Marshal. We had Ice Cube perform at halftime. Like, I get what they're trying to do, I get all this kind of stuff, but that doesn't give me a hype up for the 500. Racing does.
No.
Personally, for me, I like to see good racing, and the racing we saw wasn't bad. I guess like depends how much what you like. I guess certain things, but that just does. Even if it's Daytona being boring right now, that's still racing more than than I don't know. That's just me personally, but it felt more like a show, like an all-star race performance than an actual Clash.
Well,
and for me personally, that's not my thing. I like.
The Clash was supposed to be. It was promoted as a show, and rightfully it was. It should have been a show.
Yeah, I get that.
That was the whole purpose of it.
But I don't think that's really the purpose of the Clash, though. I mean, I guess it might be. It might be for NASCAR and the way they look at it. But for me, it's like I like the Clash to get hyped up for the next coming up the 500. But now I'm kind of like
the thing is this, and I'm gonna be straightforward here. It's a long off season. When NASCAR comes back, I want to watch racing. Yep. That's the first thing I want to see is I want to watch racing. And granted, we got to see some racing out of the Coliseum. But what we saw was technically a show. You saw, the driver intros. Fox Production does the Grand Marshal stuff. You saw a halftime show. Mm-hmm. And then you got to see technically a Demolition Derby heat races leading into what we would know as a Demolition Derby for the Clash, but we didn't get it. Whereas at racing at Daytona for the Clash, it's racing. I mean, yes, you may have some times where they're riding around single file, but when it comes down to it, you're going to see guys go 2 and 3 wide, risk everything they can to go get a checkered flag at the end of the race.
Yeah,
I like your point about we sit around in the off season for months and it's long. I miss preseason Thunder when they would do it. In like
we had that this year, though. We did, but my point, because that was kind of gearing up for the next gen. It was meaningful testing. It wasn't just teams. Hey, we're gonna go spend a couple $1 million this week and go test our cars for the 500 when they really didn't need to anyways. Yeah. But I guess to my point is if what you said, Jordan, long off season. Hey, if we don't want this to be the Clash, but we don't want a long off season, and we also don't want a 36 race points paying schedule, why not have an exhibition race like this in December or January? It's preseason Thunder. It's a race. It doesn't not points paying. I don't know. I mean, and think about this. NASCAR just showed everybody that racing inside of a stadium like this, temporary, is possible.
And it does give you some quality racing. I mean, yes. I know it wasn't the greatest showing of all time, but that was still quality racing.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, long term, if they continue to race at the Coliseum or even go other places, is this feasible for NASCAR? Because like you said, Jordan, it took them $1 million to build the track.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to justify doing that every time they have an event like this?
You think about it, NASCAR lost $3 million this past weekend. $1 million to build the track, and $2 million to the winner of Joe Logano. I don't know if they got $3 million back in ticket revenue, or the TV that got $3 million in viewership.
Yeah, I want to add some real quick, Jordan. Here, this is a question I have for you guys. So, what did you guys? Speaking of TV, what did you guys think of Tony Stewart in the booth with Clint Boyer, Mike Joy?
Awesome,
loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You liked it
better than Jeff.
Loved it.
You know what? I will say I was worried coming up to it. In the beginning, I turned it on at the worst time. I turned the TV on, and it was like it was like such an awkward situation when was going on track, and then it was like super awkward. I was like, okay, it's not really good. But as it progressed, so a lot of people said that it's not going to work because Tony Stewart's kind of a funnier guy, and then if Clint Boyer is also really a funny guy. Mike Joy's the only person out there that's an actual actually serious about racing. But I thought Tony Stewart was really really good. He fit it very naturally. Very good analysis. He obviously knows that he knows racing a lot. He knows NASCAR a lot, and
he's driven the car too.
Yeah, he seemed very fit for the position. I think Mike Joy's I think Mike Joy's a good voice to have there. Just be a good. He's like a solid broadcaster. I feel like. Then you got Clint Boyer, who's kind of been a funny guy, blah blah. But he still gives good analysis though, and a lot of racing stuff, obviously. And then I think Tony Stewart gives really good analysis. But still is a good commentator, and it's kind of the best of both Mike Joy and Clint Boyer. So you really got a good trio there, I feel like.
Not only that, but Tony Stewart owns his own short track in Eldora Speedway. So for him to be right in the short track element, he loves it. And he even thought that this was the greatest move. One of the greatest moves NASCAR ever did was take it to a Coliseum, and it's a short track as well. And we got to see it right there that a lot of these guys would be beating and banging almost the entire race. And Stewart was on top of it, I will say. He was on top of his game. I just can't wait to see him when we go to Daytona for the 500.
Yeah. He's been doing this for he's been doing this for years too. Like I remember TNT, he used to do Busch Series broadcast every now and then. We're talking back in 2004. This isn't his first time in the booth. He's just a natural,
It's not even like a professional broadcaster. He literally just fits it. The way he talks, everything about it, he fits it. So the next question I have here real quick. And this didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I didn't think it would at all. And it didn't really at all exactly. But the number placement on the cars, did that bother you guys at first? I'm already used to it. I already like it personally. Some paint schemes though look pretty bad. And I will say I'm not a big fan. But I like
racing is as good as it was yesterday. The number placement doesn't matter. If it's Michigan and they're riding around, it's like, oh, this race sucks. Yeah, you're naturally going to complain about the number placement because you're annoyed that the race sucks. Because there's, you're already complaining about something. Why not keep going? I'm never going to settle and be like, yeah, I love the number placement, but it's not like a deal breaker. I'm not going to stop watching NASCAR like some people say because of the number placement.
I stopped.
It just looks bad. That's all.
I never complained about it, but I stopped one of the biggest. I think I said when we first ripped on NASCAR a lot. I think Jordan. Said this to me. He was like, they're making. I said something about they're making so many changes at once right now, and they're kind of frustrating the older, generation. They just in general frustrating the community in NASCAR. But you said, and I talk about TV rate. Other people say they won't even watch this year. And you said though, everyone's gonna watch this clash because what they're doing, the amount of changes they're making, everyone's gonna tune in here. They put on a good show. It's gonna be good for them. That's why I'm like half of me is like, And I can speak to that. The last couple of years have been more in the IndyCar and Formula One, way over NASCAR. Even IMSA, I've been more excited for IMSA races than NASCAR personally. I remember last year, I probably watched honestly 3 races max. I kept up with them. I was look at my phone, who's winning, who won, what point standings are.
Yeah.
But I watched the 500. I watched the Indy Road, which is actually a really good race to watch, and I watched the last race of the season. That was only 3 I actually watched. But I kept up with it. But this year, I think I'm actually going to be so excited for Sunday, to actually come along.
You bring up the old fans on social media, Nate. Good point. The old fans have been saying, we want more short tracks. NASCAR gave us a short track.
Exactly.
But it wasn't good enough for them, apparently. They wanted more entertainment. NASCAR gave them more entertainment. Apparently it wasn't good enough.
Exactly.
NASCAR tried something new because they wanted them to. Apparently it wasn't good enough. This is a huge win for NASCAR, not only for the people within the industry, but also culturally. That's huge. To have a race inside the LA Coliseum. Think about it, was it 6 years ago? They had the first ever college football game inside of a racetrack. And this year, we had the first ever NASCAR race inside of a college football stadium. The roles have reversed, but it's cool because, literally I saw a screenshot Colin Cowherd was talking about it on The Herd today on Fox Sports. Like Colin Cowherd, who talks about basketball this time of the year and the Super Bowl, was talking about NASCAR. He never talks about NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great for NASCAR. The notoriety and culturally, it's great for him.
I don't think NASCAR. I think NASCAR though after the clash, I think I would consider that a win for them. Like you look at all the thing. I mean, I don't know. It was for me personally. I think it was a win for them, and I think they're gonna walk away from the clash saying that was a success.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a win for them in terms of like the fan base and getting more people on the eyes of the sport, which this was the purpose of it, was to get more eyes on the sport. You're getting more of the West Coast people involved, bringing a track to them. And
I think that it would have been a bad look though if they didn't get this right. Like if something bad happened,
totally bad
it would have been really bad for them. But I think it could have gone way worse, and could have gone better, maybe, sure, honestly, in certain areas. But overall, though, I think this, for a brand new car and a temporary track, I mean, a lot of things can go wrong here, and I thought it overall went well.
But I kind of look at this as like, you look at the NHL. They play games in baseball fields and football stadiums for the Winter Classic. You look at MLB. They just brought in this new Field of Dreams game out in Iowa where they're playing in the middle of the cornforfield. Mm-hmm. So it's something different that they're trying to do. And
Zach has a lot of experience in the middle of cornfields.
Listen, dude.
Sorry to bring up the picture.
You say that, anyway. And then the Facebook algorithm's going to kick in, and I'm going to see that on my feed again.
Dude, I'll never forget, dude. I'm like, that's you? I literally saw that. I swear, bro, I've seen that before I met you before. Like, I saw that before I even knew who you were. 100%.
That happened before I moved to St. Louis. This
that's what I'm saying.
3 years ago. And I still see it on my feed, Instagram and Facebook. People tag me in that crap all the time.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think, for NASCAR, it was a huge win. But I want to talk about a loss that happened. And I think, me personally, you guys can agree with it, was the production of Fox Sports.
Oh, it was horrible. How many times did they not have a replay for a crash or they missed something because the camera worked? Okay, I'm going to say something. I might get in trouble for this. Okay,
here we go.
I think a 14-year-old with an iPhone could get a better shot than the Fox Sports camera guy. Like, what are they doing? Who did they pay to do this? Did they
should have sent ATN Network out there
to some random schmuck and say, "Hey, record this"? Like, it's a quarter-mile track. How can you miss any of that stuff?
Ice Cube was running the camera after halftime.
It's literally a quarter-mile track. How can you miss any of that stuff? They had to have at least 7 or 8 cameras on the track.
Speaking of production,
how can you miss that?
Halftime show?
I don't get that.
Yeah, it was rough.
Go ahead, Nate.
That's actually where I was. I remember, I was a little bit late to the main event. I turned my TV on. They missed the replay, and in the booth they were kind of like chuckling up with certain things. Like choking up. Sorry, when they were saying. So it was a pretty awkward time to join in. I was like, oh gosh, this might not be the greatest, just showing here, but we'll see what happens, I guess. But yeah, it was pretty bad camera work. Honestly, it was rough.
It's mainly I guess it's a short track and all. It's a quarter-mile track. It's not that hard to fit the whole entire track involved. But whenever, let's say Kyle Busch was coming up to the back bumper of Joey Logano, they zoomed in so much on this back bumper quarter panels that you couldn't even see what was developing. Like, you just saw the quarter panel and the back bumper fill up your whole TV screen.
It felt like Fox Sports was also trying something new. I felt like Fox Sports was trying to go something new, though. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe Fox Sports wanted to try something new, and I don't know.
I hope that wasn't by design. It just doesn't look good.
I think certain parts of it might have been because the amount of times they showed a super, super close image of the zoomed up bumper hitting somebody else. That happened a lot. I felt like.
I think in moderation, a shot like that could be appreciated. But if it's a high intense situation, like a breaking moment of a race, something very important, that's not a shot that you would go with. You want to be able to display the entire battle that's going on.
You want to see everything develop.
So, and seeing just a very narrow shot zoomed in, it looks bad. And I say this, as a mass comm major, a production focus, of course I'm going to sound like an elitist about it, but to me, it looks so bad. I mean, I've heard other people talk about it too, just random fans. So,
yeah. And another take I want to do really quick was, we're in a day and age to where people want to see the action. I don't care what company or what broadcast network you are. At this stage of the game, Fox Sports is behind the 8 ball in terms of going to commercial break during green flag runs. Every single racing season, F1 never does commercial breaks the way they have it signed with their contract with ESPN.
F1's a whole different league. F1's a whole different league compared to production.
IndyCar and IMSA both are able to do side-by-side coverage. NASCAR, on the other hand, 15 laps into the race, and don't get me wrong, 15 laps, let's go by quick. 15 laps into the main event of race, oh, we're going to go to a commercial break and take you away from the action.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. They do about 4 laps every minute. So that would say not even 5 minutes into the race, they've gone to commercial. To me, that doesn't do the race justice, for one, because it was a great race. 2, if you're going to try to get in your commercials for your partners, it doesn't make sense because the yellows are long anyway. So I don't understand how they can't squeeze in these commercials in these long yellows. And like, to your point, Jordan, why can't they go side by side? Do you really want to miss this? Like, I don't get it.
That's the thing. It's the premier race that you've been hyping up this entire off season, and within the first 15 laps of the main event race, you go to commercial. It's a full screen commercial.
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention, I mean, these commercials, you could have busted a bunch of them out during the heat races. You still had a good audience for it, but not everybody was watching. So yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, the value of a commercial would be more during the main event because everybody's watching. However, you don't see the Super Bowl. You don't see them go to commercial while play is happening.
No.
You know, this is a media timeout, and they stop play. Now, obviously, NASCAR shouldn't stop the race for a media commercial, but there's got to be a better way to do it. And fans have been pretty vocal about this for years, the commercials. Now, let's be clear. These commercials are what keep the lights on, you know what I mean, in a sense, for these media companies and also NASCAR. But there's got to be a better way to do it. There has to be more efficient ways to do this to not hurt the viewing experience for the audience. I think we should jump into some fantasy, yeah?
I think so.
Okay. So we did our picks for the Clash last week. So it was me. Actually, we got to get Evan's pick for this week, too. So it was me, Jordan, Nate, and Evan, and then we had Bobby Krug as our guest. So the way we're doing it is us 4 hosts plus the guest. So we total the guest points as we go through the season. So really the leaderboard didn't really change much. I think the only people to score points were Bobby and Evan. So the guest has 1 point, Evan has 1 point, I have 1 point, Jordan has 2 points,
Nate's sitting pretty down with
big
0.
Goose egg. Big goose egg.
Hey, shut up, Jordan.
So let's jump into predictions this week. So there's no race this week, but we're still going to do some fantasy. So 2 predictions. We've got the Super Bowl. There's a lot you can predict. Let's go winners first. Let's go around the room. Jordan, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
Who's winning and what's your other prediction?
I really want to see Joe Shiesty and the Bengals win. But my gut tells me that the Rams are going to do it. I don't know why, but my gut tells me Matthew Stafford and experience, along with the way their offensive game is running, and plus the defense. Don't get me wrong, the defense has been lights out for the Rams. So I feel like the Rams themselves are going to be able to find a way to pull it together and win a Super Bowl this year against the Cincinnati Bengals. My wild card prediction, I am going to say, we're going to have 5 field goals picked between both teams. 5 field goals.
That's lame.
You're right. It could be lame. But that's my prediction. 5 field goals.
Yeah, I feel like so.
Zach, your mic's muted.
Hey, Zach. I can't hear you, Zach.
Your mic was muted.
I had my mic muted. Okay.
What were you saying there?
Let's pass it to Christian now. Give us Super Bowl winner and a random prediction. What you got?
So I think my winner is going to have to be Cincinnati. But I think it's kind of going to end up playing out like the F1 season finale. The Rams are just going to start wiping the floor. And then Bengals are going to have like a really punchy last quarter or two. And just destroy them.
Okay. So, second prediction, what you got?
Gotta be a bit
There's
wild.
going to be a streaker come onto the field. Steal the football.
Okay, question though: Is he gonna be able? Is he gonna get on live TV? I think that's a big question. That's the big question. Because there's gonna be a streaker. There's gonna be a streaker, but will he be on live TV? That's the real big one.
Hey, here's the thing though: they tell the camera people to turn the cameras, like either the producer or the camera people. They tell them to not show that.
I know that's what I'm saying. But something like called like the last weekend there was one that you could see him actually running. We can see him running right in front of the camera. Yeah, there was last weekend they had a mistake and they barely clipped him. So this week I'm wondering if they're gonna actually everybody's gonna get.
Yeah, they stopped showing it because people realized, I could be on TV if I do this.
Exactly.
So they stopped doing it so people would stop. So sorry, Christian, continue. You're gonna say it's a streaker.
He's gonna take the football, run, force the players to take him down. And then just pile up.
I love it.
Pile up?
Because that's happened before. That is
the only way we're going to be able we realize the only way we're going to be able to find this is through cell phone video.
Yeah,
right, and it'll be on Twitter. I mean, it'll be on Twitter. It'll be on TikTok.
It's definitely going to be on Twitter.
Yeah, so that
just like
I can see it happening. I would say,
just
for
real
that
quick
to be
in
legit,
here, though,
we have to see a video of it. Doesn't matter if it's
real
on
quick.
TV, Twitter,
Real
TikTok,
quick here.
Facebook. Doesn't matter. We got to see a video of it.
Evanstamer says it'll probably be the Rams, but he's going to go for Joe Shiesty. He's going to go Bengals winning.
Joe Shiesty, let's go.
So that's his prediction. Now let's go to me next here. Sorry. I'm going to tell you right now, the Bengals are going to be dominating this game. I'm just kidding. Rams are going to kill them. It's going to be a blowout. No, I'm just kidding. I do think Rams are going to win though. Honestly, my third prediction is going to be Joe Shiesty throws 2 interceptions.
Okay.
Which is I think it's a little wild. You don't see many quarterbacks Super Bowl pulling 2 different interceptions.
Peyton Manning did it, and he won a Super Bowl.
True,
so,
he did.
All right. Anyways, I'm gonna see Joe Shiesty throwing 2 interceptions, and Rams gonna win.
So we got Evan's first pick. We're waiting on Evan's second pick. He's actually texting the group chat right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my picks. All right. Most of us collectively said Joe Shiesty's getting a ring, right? So throw it on there. Joe Shiesty. This is my ring finger, by the way. Joe Shiesty's getting a Super Bowl ring. For my random pick, I'm going to say he gets 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. So 3 touchdowns, 1 interception for Joe Shiesty. Evan is still not giving us a second prediction. If he was smart, he would say there's some sort of malfunction in the Super Bowl halftime show, or there's a really, really sketchy commercial that causes one company to be like canceled or something. But
didn't we say in the pre-show one of our picks should be a wardrobe malfunction in the Super Bowl halftime show?
Yeah, that's a realistic possibility. Or what was that one? What was that one year? I think Katy Perry performed and. Somebody was wearing a costume and they just weren't dancing very well.
Was that Baby Shark thing?
Whatever. No, it wasn't Baby Shark. No, it's not Baby Shark. God, he's uncultured swine. Oh my God, I've been around Ryan Bjerke too much.
What was it?
It
was a shark, wasn't it?
It was left shark. It was left shark. It was right shark actually danced. Left shark just stood there. God, you guys are uncultured, dude. I've been around Ryan Bjerke too much. I just said uncultured swine. Golly.
Yeah, this was before Baby Shark, but yeah, that did happen.
Way before. No, but that was funny. As Evan's typing a whole freaking paragraph right now for his second pick, apparently. Golly. He's writing the whole dude.
Hopefully
here we go.
Rams are down by 3 with
my God, that's very specific.
And the mad scientist, Matthew, throws a pick 6 to lose the game officially. So he's saying Bengals.
So Rams lose with 1:02 left.
He's saying a pick 6. He's saying
trying to drive down a score, and Stafford throws a pick 6, which means they're probably going to lose by 10.
I think we just give it to him if they get a pick 6 with a minute left. Basically, is what he's saying. I will give it to him if it's like a pick 6 minute left. We'll give that point to him. That's kind of the biggest thing. So that's a good one.
I like that. Stafford's had a good season, but I could see that. I could see him also doing that. Yeah, crazy. So Super Bowl should be pretty fun, I think. Fellas, final thoughts before we sign off.
I'm tired.
We're all
very
tired.
Christian, by the way, thanks for being on, man. Appreciate it. Good luck to you this season, and hopefully
thank you for having me.
That's another thing. Christian, where could people follow you throughout the course of the 2020
Christian
season?
Weir Racing on Instagram and Twitter, and Racing on Facebook. Yep.
Sweet. All right, gentlemen. Until next week. It's Valentine's Day next week.
Zach's my Valentine. Christian, just follow you on Twitter. I want you guys to know. Well, not Twitter, Instagram. I am now his 500th follower. Just throwing that out there.
Hey.
Just throwing that out there. Thank you.
Wait. Hold on. Time out. Is he
just
now
unfollowed? Now he's
Christian? Because
I don't know.
I gotta say this. Nate is
man.
Huge Christian Lundgaard fan.
Huge. So it goes Christian Lundgaard, Grant Palmer, evanstamer, Jordan Missig. I don't have a fifth yet. Now it's Christian Weir. Now it's Christian Weir. That's top 5. That's top 5 right there.
There we go. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. There you have it, folks. Thanks for tuning in, whether it be on YouTube or on our various podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next week. Peace.
Bye-bye.